Welcome back to Say and Tom. I'm Tom with Say. Today we're going to be talking about who we think are locks for the college football playoffs, who we think should make the college football playoffs, and who we think are a dark horse outside chance to make the playoffs. Say, go ahead, get us started with what you think.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yes, like he said, we're going to get into our playoff team predictions for this upcoming college football season. And I want to start it off with our top four. So, just to mention real quick, this season, the committee has changed the playoff structure for the upcoming season. So, last year we saw the top four conference champions, the highest ranked conference champions from last year get the top four seeds in the buys. So that was number one, Oregon, undefeated out of the Big Ten. Number two, Georgia. Number three, Boise State, who was ranked higher as a conference champion than both Arizona State and Clemson, who won their respective conferences. But Boise State was the highest ranked after Georgia. Then Arizona State, the number four team, got the last bye. Clemson, the five team, well, not the five team, but the team that won the ACC, they ended up being the 12 seed because they were not ranked in the top 12 at the end of the season. They only got in because of an automatic bid by winning their conference. So, just to let you know that before we get into this season, where the top four is the top four, the straight seeding structure that we have now, it will reflect the committee's rankings at the end of the year. So, the top 12 going into the playoff selection will be the top 12 in the playoffs. So the seeds will be exactly the same as the rankings. There will be no confusion between the two like we had last year. So, with that in mind, number 1, and this is in no particular order by the way. I can't really call who's going to what the order is going to be 1 through 12. I just think that these 10 to 12 to 14 teams are going to have the best shot to make the playoff right here. Number 1, Texas Longhorns. Texas Longhorns, they're the most hyped team coming into this season, the offseason. There's just been straight hype. Arch Manning taking over the program after Quinn Ewers got drafted last season, took them to the playoff for the first time. They beat Clemson in that first round game before uh, almost losing Arizona State. Should have lost that game to Arizona State as someone who watched that game. But eked them out, barely survived, and then before they lost to the eventual champions, Ohio State, in the semifinal round. So number 1, Texas, they're going to be hungry. They're coming back even stronger, I think. And I think they have a higher ceiling now with their new quarterback in Arch Manning. Steve Sarkisian is going to have that team ready to go. And I think Texas, I don't know if they're going to be the number 1 team at the end of the year, but they will be in that top 10 for sure, most likely top 5. So I want to start off with Texas. Then we get into number 2, Ohio State. Of course, Ohio State, the defending national champions, they are going to be there. There's really no question about it. They are there year after year, no matter what. Ohio State will be in this running. The only thing that stopped them last year was that slip up to their rivals, Michigan, in the last regular season game that kept them out of the conference championship. But of course, that did not prevent them from winning it all. So Ohio State will be right there. They're going to reload like they do every year. They got a new quarterback, Julian, what's his last name? Julian something. Julian is taking over Ohio State. He's going to be their next quarterback, it looks like. And just like the long lineage of great Ohio State quarterbacks, he should be just fine. He has Jeremiah Smith out there catching the ball, one of the best players in college football. Ohio State will be there. Ryan Day leading the charge, no problem. Number 3, Georgia Bulldogs. The Georgia Bulldogs, just like Ohio State, they're going to be there. They're going to be there every single year. They are the team now, especially since Alabama took a step back. I think they really are the new Alabama as far as just I mean, they're not dominating college football like Alabama did when Alabama had their run, just because now we have, everything. We have the playoff, the expanded playoff, we have NIL, we have transfer portal. So, of course, it has leveled the playing field. But Georgia is still going to be right there. They were right there last year. They won the SEC, even with the SEC looking like it was going to go to a new team this year. So Georgia's going to be right back, leading the charge once again. No problem, no doubt about them being there. Number 4, Oregon. Oregon, the number 1 undefeated team from last year, they're going to be back. I think they might take a little step back just because they lost some good talent. Dylan Gabriel's gone. things like that. But Oregon is another team that's just going to reload. They are a program that is always in the running for a national championship, and I just think that they're going to bounce back just as hard as they did last year. They might slip up a game or two this year. They might not go undefeated again. You know, the Big Ten is a tough conference, but I think with the schedule they have and also with the talent they have, they will be in that playoff conversation once again. So no problem at all there. That's my top four. Those will be the top four ranked teams, I believe, going into next year. It could be in any order, but I think those are the four best teams in college football right now. What do you think about that, Tom?
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with anything you just said. So my top four is starting number one, I believe Ohio State. I just think that they're a well-vetted team. It's a program that knows how to win. I think they do it again this year, but with a little better execution in the regular season, maybe. So I think they end up number one, and I also believe they end up number one because Texas is who I have at number two. Now, I think Texas might get the typical SEC treatment this year where they either lose a big game against a highly ranked team or they kind of they get snuck on a little bit. And the team that's maybe not ranked so high, maybe a Texas A&M, for example, I think that game is going to be dangerous for them. So I think Texas maybe loses a game or two. I'm going to guess one, but I think Ohio State has a pretty clean season as well. So I think Ohio State one, Texas two, and I believe Georgia is number three. And that's just because of the depth of the SEC. And I think Georgia's going to have a really good season. I believe in I believe in Kirby all the way. Kirby Smart. I almost said George Kirby again. I believe in Kirby all the way. And then at number four, now this might be a hot take. If you want to look at last season and what this team did in the playoffs as well as the regular season, give me Penn State at number four.
Woo!
Now, I know. You think
Yeah,
Oregon has a super easy schedule relatively, but I think this year I think they falter in a game or two. I think maybe like an Oregon State or somebody that's not supposed to beat them. I think they fall a game behind on a game they shouldn't lose, and I think Penn State coming off of last season, I mean, they made the Final Four. Let's not forget. Penn State only lost to Notre Dame by 3 points last year. Okay, and they're in the Big Ten. All right, they're right there. It's one of those conversations we have where it's like last podcast we talked about Ole Miss being the Penn State of the SEC. Completely agree. Penn State, though, when they got the opportunity, they took care of Boise State and Ashton Genty 31-14, and then they only lost to Notre Dame by three. So I think Penn State's coming back with a little, and that's a school where it's like next man up no matter what. That's just how I feel. So we have them there at the 4 seed, okay, and I mean after that, I'll just get into my other other teams that I think should make the playoffs, but they won't be top four. So the teams after Penn State for me are going to be Oregon at five because I think, or like I said, Oregon's schedule, they might falter and lose a game they shouldn't lose, but I think that they'll still be fine. They're not going to lose a whole lot. They'll still be able to get that number five seed, maybe six, seven. That wouldn't surprise me. After that, in the Big Ten, I'm going to talk about my dark horses now, only from the Big Ten. So we have Michigan, Indiana, and Nebraska. Okay. Now, Michigan, they're coming off a hot end of the season. They beat Ohio State and they played a good bowl game and beat Alabama.
they sure did.
So they sure did. That's a team where we can't forget, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago they won the national championship?
Just 2 seasons ago. Yep.
Just 2 seasons ago they won the national championship. They had one off season, but they finished really strong, beating Ohio State, the future national champion, And then they got put in a bowl game with Alabama, and everyone was asking, why is Alabama playing Michigan? Michigan is bad, blah blah blah. And then Michigan wins. And then so then we get to Indiana, and I think Indiana has a chance just because I mean Kurt Signetti is a guy. He's a coach. He's a coach's coach. He might not be a player's coach, but he reminds me of my dear old coach at Nebraska, Bo Pelini. He's one of those guys where he's gonna back up his guys all the way, but if they mess up on the field, he's gonna let them know. And I think players respect that. He might not be a player's coach, but the players respect the expectation of perfection.
Shout
And
out.
when you expect perfection at a school, I mean, you see what happens. Nebraska was at worst 8-4. I mean, 8-4 was a bad year. 9-3 was standard. 10-2 was like, okay, yeah, win the big games now. So I think that's where Indiana's at right now. Is they might not be able to win all the big games. If they make the Big Ten championship, I could see them repeating a Nebraska Wisconsin esque Big Ten championship where they are Nebraska and like the Ohio State or Oregon is the Wisconsin and they just blow them out 52-10 or whatever the score was. I don't even want to know. And then I go on to Nebraska. Now I know this is biased and I am a Nebraska fan, but
Mm-hmm.
the way our schedule is set up this year, we have a potential. When you talk about win one of two games you're not supposed to win one of two of those games that you're not supposed to win, and all of a sudden you win the games that you're supposed to win, and you find yourself with a 10 win regular season. Now, I don't know if that equates to a Big Ten championship this year, but if Nebraska can put themselves in the situation that Indiana put themselves in last year, I mean you can't say there's not a shot because
I'll say that.
which there's a very good potential that that might happen, but we got to see how Dylan Raiola plays, and I believe in the man. I believe in, well, I should say I believe in the kid, Patrick Mahomes' little brother, all the way. As a Nebraska fan, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm happy that he's. Who doesn't want to be Patrick Mahomes? Anyway.
I'm sure Patrick Mahomes would definitely swap out his little brother for Dylan Raiola. So
Yeah, that's a
just
good.
wanted to say that. Just wanted to mention that. So I don't
No,
think Patrick would have a problem with that.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to get into the rest of my rankings here. Of course, like I said, not really any particular order, just kind of the teams that I think are going to make the playoff this year. So let me just list them off real quick before we break them down a little bit. So I gave my top four: number one, Texas; number two, Ohio State; number three, Georgia; number four, Oregon. Now at number five, I have the ACC champion, Clemson Tigers, at number five, representing the ACC. Of course, even though they win their championship, though, if they're not ranked in the top four, they will not get a bye. So, number five, Clemson, ACC champion. Number six, Penn State. Number seven, South Carolina. Number eight, Miami.
Ooh,
Number nine, LSU. Number 10, Kansas State, representing the Big 12 champion. And they're the only Big 12 team to make the playoff in my prediction. So, just the one Big 12 team. Um, Number 11, Illinois. I have Illinois slash Alabama
okay.
because that last spot before we get to the group of five, the last power four, you would call it the, what is it called? Not the automatic bid, but the at large bid. Uh,
Yes.
at large bid. I'm a big believer in Illinois. I know we talked about it before in the other episode, but Illinois, they had a great season last year. 9-3. They ended it well with a win over South Carolina in the bowl game, and they have a great coach. They returned their quarterback Luke Altmaier, who's supposed to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten next season. Um, they've gotten some good players in the transfer portal. They got a good roster. I just see Illinois as the Indiana of last year. So as we know, Indiana made the playoff last year, going on a run. They went 11-1, and their only
Okay.
loss was to Ohio State on the road,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Indiana made the playoff out of nowhere, and no one picked them to make the playoff. And I just think that even though Indiana could do it again this year, I wouldn't be surprised at all this time around. But I think Illinois is kind of suiting up for a year like that, and so it really could be either one of those teams. But also, of course, Alabama's going to be lurking around somewhere there. They're just going to be somewhere around. They're the ESPN, the NCAA darling. Alabama will never get left out of conversations if they're even, remotely.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Alabama's going to be lurking around on that last spot, just like they were last year, trying to take it from SMU. But yeah, between those teams and then the number 12 team, I saved for the Group of Five representative. So as the playoff works, the playoff still includes one Group of Five team, and it's the highest ranked Group of Five conference champions. So out of the MAC conference, Sun Belt, Mountain West, AAC, CUSA, FBS, Independence,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. You got them all. Yeah.
Pac-12, now the Pac-12, because I believe that's classified as a Group of Five team now, or Group of Five conference. Um, Out of all of those conferences, there will be one team, and then between the champions of those conferences, they'll pick one team, the highest ranked one, to represent the Group of Five. So last year that was Boise State. Out of the Mountain West Conference, they were the number 8 seed, number 9 seed.
Last year,
Yeah,
Boise State.
Boise State. Yeah, they were Mountain West champions. They were ranked like 8 or 9 in the playoff.
They were so they were fourth. They were the 4 seed, but they were ranked ninth overall.
Ninth overall. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So, so Boise State was the highest ranked conference championship last year, and that's why they represented the Group of Five in the playoff. So this year, I think that's going to be between either Tulane, the Tulane Green Wave down there in New Orleans, or the Memphis Tigers out of the AAC. Both of those teams in the AAC. Um,
Yep.
The AAC just remains the American, as it's known, just remains to be the best Group of Five conference in general. Of course, the Mountain West produced Boise
Yeah.
State last year, and they also have a couple decent teams, so they're right there behind them. But as far as the Group of Five goes, I mean, we do have the new Pac-12, but the American Conference has kind of been the leaders. They're the conference that has Tulane, Memphis, Army, Navy, trying to remember some other teams that are like North. Is North Texas in there now? I think they were in the CUSA before. I know Cincinnati and Houston used to be in the AAC before they moved over to the Big 12. So
Yep.
the AAC kind of is the best Group of Five conference, and they're usually going to be the team that produces the most, uh, at least playoff contender worthy teams. So, for example, like last year, both Army and Navy were contenders for the Group of Five. Tulane was, Memphis was. So literally all four of those teams that we mentioned already will be right there again this year. And I just think it'll be between Tulane and Memphis this time. Could be an Army, could be a Navy, could be a Utah State, you just never know. Appalachian State, you just never know. But I think it'll be between two for that.
Appalachian State, huh?
Never know, man. But for that last playoff seed, the 12 seed, it'll probably be the 12 seed. But Boise State was the 9 last year, so you never know. But that will be my Group of Five representatives right there.
But yeah, no, I mean, my 5 through 12, I mean, I have options on all of them because I don't know at all who I think is actually going to be there. But so at number 5, call me crazy. I think Kansas State has a really good season,
At
and
5,
I think Kansas State gets in at 5.
you're
They
crazy,
win the
Tom.
Big 12. They win the Big 12 championship, and they have a good season. I believe Kansas State gets in at number 5. And I believe we put Oregon in at 6 because I don't think they're going to make the Big 10 championship. So I think you have to put them at number 6. Now, number 7, this is where I really get real iffy. I think it would be like an Alabama or an LSU, maybe a Tennessee. Those are my three SEC wildcard teams that could have a really good season and make the playoffs and get themselves. They're not going to be in the SEC championship, but they're going to have a good season. They're going to be sitting at number 3 in the SEC. So I got either Alabama, Tennessee, or LSU at number 7. And at number 8, we have another potential Big Ten team, I believe. Whether that is Michigan, maybe in Indiana, like you said, Illinois. I don't want to say it, but how about Nebraska? After that, you might have like a BY or I would even throw in a BYU at number 7 just because I believe they're going to be a runner up in the Big 12 and also have a solid season. But again, like we talked about last podcast, the Big 12 is like cannibalistic just through and through. It's kind of like the Big 10 where you lose games that you shouldn't lose and you win games that you shouldn't win. And it kind of just like back and forth evens itself out, but at the end of the day, you just hurt the entire conference.
And I think the Big 12 is even more competitive than the Big 10, like just top to bottom. Like the Big 10, you're going to have like top heavy teams, you're going to have the good teams,
Right.
and then you're going to have some middle of the pack teams. But then, at the end of the, you're going to have Purdue, you're going to have Northwestern, you're going to have Maryland, what I mean? You're going to have UCLA. So, you got to kind of got to drop off at the end. And the Big 12, I mean, as far as, relative to the teams in that conference, I mean, you get to the end and you're at what? West Virginia, uh, Texas Tech.
Don't you can't go in there sleepwalking, I'll tell
Right,
you
like you can
that.
sleepwalk through any team if you're Baylor, or through any week if you're Baylor or TCU or Iowa State. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
And then like you have to remember in the past where it's like Purdue came out of nowhere and played the game of the century against Ohio State
they beat
and
Ohio State. I'll never forget that game.
they beat the brakes off Ohio
It
State.
was like 55 to like
It was like
4.
55 to like 28.
It was crazy.
So you have games like that where it's like those you can guarantee one of those games is going to happen this season. Now, what team does it to what team? It's usually a team that has nothing to lose against a team that has everything to lose. And it's a night game and they're at home. It's just, the history of college football, that's how it goes. Or you get a team at the beginning of the season, you're playing an 11 a.m. game and they come out and they pop you in the mouth. And then they don't stop. They pop you in the mouth again, and then they pop you in the mouth again, and it's all of a sudden you start doubting yourself. It's college football. This is why I love it so much. It's so unpredictable and so crazy. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm at the 8 seed now.
Yeah, finish
So
up your top 12, and then we'll get into our like bubble teams, dark horses, teams like that.
okay. So I had Kansas State at 6, and then I had Bama at 7. So then I have the ACC champion, which I believe will either be Clemson or Miami at 8. I think the ACC gets disrespected because they're the ACC. No hate. I just think that that's how the committee kind of views things. Um, so I think I got Clemson or Miami at 8, or basically the ACC champion. I put them at 8. At 9, I'm gonna give that to again either the Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, one of those types of teams from the SEC. I think they're gonna lean heavy on the SEC and the Big Ten this year. So again, I think that's where that seed's gonna be. This is where it gets real murky. I wouldn't be surprised if they give the number 9 seed to another Big Ten team, and then whoever fills in that position, whether it's an Illinois, Nebraska, Indiana, there's going to be some team that can fill that spot. Number 10, I think they go back to the Big 12, and I think they put the Big 12 runner up at number 10. 11, geez, I would hope that one of the group of 5 teams get at least number 11 and not number 12. and which I have either Navy or Tulane. And then lastly, at number 12, I have the loser of the ACC Conference Championship at number 12. Um, and then, yeah, we can now you can get into your dark horses because, I mean, there's so many for me that I don't even know where to start. So you go ahead.
So you have two ACC teams and two Big 12 teams making the playoff this year.
Correct.
Wow, that's crazy because as we saw last year, there was only one from each conference. So, oh, excuse me, ACC got two. Excuse me, SMU and Clemson, but
Yes.
that was like barely because Clemson won that game. If Clemson had lost that game, they're out. So, and then, of course, Big 12 only got one with Arizona State last year, even though Iowa State was right there, and so was Colorado and BYU. So we did our 1 through 12 each. And so now, just to wrap it up, we're just going to talk about our dark horses, our bubble teams that we think that maybe just missed the cut, but are going to be right there on the cusp of making the playoff this upcoming season. So, the first team I want to start off with because I totally forgot about them when I was even doing this because they are the most annoying team in college football, in my opinion, because they refuse to join a conference, even though they are a highly traditional,
Yep.
history rich team. They're always a top premier program, yet they choose to be an independent year after year for whatever reasons they have. That is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Tell them. Tell them.
The Notre
Tell
Dame
them.
Fighting Irish are my first team possibly out. Now that I think about it, I really think they could make the playoff again this year because they definitely went on a good run last year. They made the playoff as the 5 seed. They are up there with the upper echelon of the Alabamas and the Georgias and Penn States and the Michigans and the Ohio States of the world, but yet they refuse to join a conference. I don't know
So
why.
they can pick their own schedule.
They have their own reasons for whatnot. I just don't think it's fair. And I want to say, like, oh, they use it as an opportunity to have an easier schedule. But Notre Dame usually has a pretty decent schedule year after year. They usually play like some tough out of conference game. Well, they don't have a conference, but but yeah, they usually play
Or
some
yeah.
some tough
Like
like
the
yeah.
Miamis, the Florida States, the Indiana. Well, Indiana used to not be one, but now it's like Indiana. They play Army, they play Navy, and again, Army Navy used to not be a problem, but now they might be a problem. Anyway, go ahead.
USC.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, keep preaching, brother.
No, you definitely added some good points because the USC's they played USC they play USC like every year. Texas
Yep,
A&M
yep.
played them last year, so Notre Dame usually ends up having a decent schedule, a decently strength of schedule. But the fact that they refuse to join a conference and play a conference schedule, it just really irks me, especially because they want to be that upper echelon team. They want to be a championship contender, and it's like, but you're not going through the same things that the championship contenders go through. Like you're not in a
You ain't going. They're not going through what Florida has to go through. I guarantee you that.
or Oklahoma. So it's just hard for me to see them as legitimate sometimes. So that's my beef with Notre Dame. But obviously they went on a great run last year, all the way to the national championship, which was a huge surprise to me because as someone who saw them lose to Northern Illinois in like week 3 or whatever it was, and at that point, I just thought their season was over. I'm like, oh, well, Notre Dame's done. Cross them off. Well, not exactly because they went ahead and won the rest of their games, and then they made the playoff, and then decided to beat Indiana, beat Georgia, and then almost beat Penn State. I mean, no, beat Penn State.
They beat
Beat
Penn State. They made it to the Natty. Yeah, they made it.
Penn
They played
State
Ohio State.
and almost beat Ohio State. So, great team they were last year. Marcus Freeman is a great head coach at Notre Dame. I think he's the best thing that's happened to him since Brian Kelly left. Because Brian Kelly just couldn't get into that spot, but not Morgan Freeman, Marcus Freeman does it in like what his first 2-3 years or something like that. So
I think it was his second or third. Yeah.
yeah, so like I think that's the best thing that's happened to them. So good for them to find him. But I don't see any reason why they don't come back to the playoff. I'm sure they'll reload. They're always a good team with good talent. I just I kind of forgot about them, and I think maybe they could get left out just based on the teams I do have in there. So I know it'll be interesting to see. But Notre Dame, Okay, so then between the SEC, I have Ole Miss and Tennessee as two teams that will be right there on the cusp. The Big Ten, I have Indiana, I have Michigan, and I have Iowa. So, just real quick on Iowa, because we haven't talked about them a lot. Um, Interesting thing about Iowa is that they got a transfer quarterback from North Dakota State, or was it South Dakota State? One or the other.
One or the other, same thing.
Yeah, because both of them are two of the best FCS programs year after year. So as far as FCS talent, the other D1 league, that's the top of the cream of the crop. So they get the transfer quarterback from them. So Iowa, as people as any if you ask anybody about Iowa, the first thing they're going to say is Iowa has a tough time on offense. They have a hard time scoring points because that's the reputation that Iowa's made, is that they have a stingy defense, and then they're going to put up like 10 points a game. Like they're going to beat you 10-7. Like that's the game against Iowa. So uh, they need help on offense. They need to get more dynamic if they want to compete in that conference. But their defense is always good. They have a good coach who's literally been there for like 30 years. He's super old, and he refuses to retire. But Iowa's always a solid program. And they could make some noise this year. They could go on a run if they win a couple of those games that you're not supposed to win, that we talked about. And they're a dark horse for me, and of course Nebraska as well. I know you're all over that, but Nebraska could also be there as well. You can even throw in a USC or a Washington. You never know. So that's out of the Big Ten. For the ACC, I have SMU. Of course, they made the playoff last year out of nowhere. I don't think anybody saw that coming. SMU Mustangs down there in my old home of Dallas, Texas, represent. Uh, they could have a bounce back year as well. They could come right back and do it again. In the ACC over there, they got good talent. And really, what it was for SMU was the NIL. I don't know if people know, but SMU, Southern Methodist University over there in University Park, Texas, they got deep money down there. They got deep pockets, old money. So
tell, tell let the country know. Not everybody knows.
that's really why when SMU came out, I was like, whoa, SMU. But then I thought about it and I was like, oh, because they got money. And so when NIL
Dog,
became legal,
they got a whole 30 for 30 about how much money SMU has.
for anybody who's watched that 30 for 30, it was about how SMU back in the day, they had their football program get suspended or
Oh,
have
what was his name? What was the guy's name? They bought his mom a house. They bought him a brand new Cadillac. He lived in his own apartment in Dallas. Gosh, what was his name?
I can't remember,
Is
man. I just know SMU got banned from bowl games for like a decade or something like that because
Oh my God. Yeah, they were the original death penalty. Like
yeah.
you thought Ohio State was the death penalty? Dog. Look up SMU because SMU got the OG death penalty.
Also at the
Right?
SEC, Louisville, always a solid program, and then Georgia Tech, always a solid program as well. And I think Georgia Tech has a special opportunity this year because they're returning their quarterback, who's been there for a couple years now, Haynes King, good dual threat quarterback there. They have a good coach there. And anybody who watched that game, they played against their rivals Georgia in the old fashioned hate last year, where they went to 8 overtimes or whatever it was, knows that Georgia Tech can play. So Georgia Tech's not messing around. If they put some wins together, they can make a push. And then lastly, out the Big 12, dark horses, Colorado. Colorado's going to be a story. Deion Sanders is still there. They lost Travis Hunter and Shador, their stars, but they reloaded. They got a couple new quarterbacks coming in there. They got new talent around them, and that team just seems to be in an upward swing. So watch out for Colorado out of Boulder. Baylor, the Baylor Bears. They have a returning quarterback in Sawyer Robertson. They should be good this year. And then Arizona State, who won the Big 12 last year out of nowhere, coming over from the Big 12 in their first year. They returned Sam Levitt, their quarterback, who's supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football next year. Very bright young man for them. And then, of course, they lost Cam Scatabo, but I'm sure they'll reload. And the thing is, Jordan Tyson, one of their receivers that was supposed to be a high draft pick last year, he got injured at the end of last year, and they still went on to win the Big 12 and almost beat Texas in the playoff without him, and he returned. So him and Sam Levitt will be there, and that will be a great foundation. And they also have a really good coach there, a really good young coach. Blanking on his name, but yeah, he's a stud for sure. And he in his first year, like Arizona State in the Pac-12, like not making any noise at all. Who was talking about Arizona State when they were in the Pac-12, and then they come over to the Big 12 in the first year and they win the Big 12? So, just a huge, quick turnaround for them. Success that I don't think they've ever seen in their program before, at least not in a long time. So, always got to watch out for them as well. But those are my teams that I think will also be on the bubble to make the playoff this upcoming season.
Yeah, that Arizona State coach, Kelly Dillingham, he's only 35. So
Dillingham,
he's a high value coach where he might get poached or he'll stay at Arizona State and make that a program. That's that's one of those things where it's like same with Matt Rule at Nebraska. There's a lot of coaches. Same with Matt at Iowa State, the Iowa State head
Matt
coach.
Campbell, I think.
Matt Campbell, yes.
Yeah,
That's another one where it's like if you watch the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, Brock Purdy talks about how he got multiple offers from the NFL, from USC, from just he got offered a bag and he said, "No, I'm going to stay." And I feel like Kenny Dillingham, I feel like he's the same way at Arizona State. He's like, because he's an Arizona State alum. And so he wants that school to win. And it's like when you have a coach that's young like that, and it's like, I don't want to leave. I want this team to be great. And I want to coach teams that are great. When you have coaches like that, look out, because even though Scattaboo left, I'm just saying his coaching alone, it's like his style of like his play calling, everything. It's like you can tell he watches film 20 hours a day. Like he doesn't sleep. He watches film. Same with Matt Campbell. It's like he's same as Dan Campbell. They are just all they want to do is win.